Atkinson's Markets, better food, better price, better service.
Farmers Insurance, the Christensen Agency, Ketchum and Haley, protecting your future one asset at a time. 208-726-6046.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Eye on Sun Valley's Sun Valley Live Insight Interviews, and we are speaking with today Michael David, who is of course a city councilman for the city of Ketchum and my co-host, but he was also one of the first people on the scene at the Warm Springs fire, and he's going to give us his insights. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's fun to be on this side of the interview.
Oh good, I'll keep that in mind for the future.
Good.
So talk us through your evening.
Sure.
What were you doing when you first noticed there was something going on?
Right, so I live across the street from the lodge on Howard Drive. There's a big empty lot in between my house and the lodge, so I have a direct sight to the lodge. I was in bed and kind of got awoken for some reason. I think with hindsight, what I heard was the alarm going off, and looked across the way and saw flames. I wasn't exactly sure where they were. Got up and went upstairs from my balcony and could see that there was a fire going on at the lodge. So at that point, I called 911 to let them know, and the operator said, we were on our way. There's people on their way. So my son and I then ran over to check it out.
And about at what time was this, Michael?
So I called at 11:21, according to my phone, and we ran over there, and I started shooting some videos with my phone right as we got over there.
And at what point did Ketchum Fire and other first responders start arriving?
Right. So I started a video at 11:27, so 6 minutes after I had called, and at that point a Ketchum police officer showed up, and you can see his sirens in the video, the reflection of his sirens. And then about 4 minutes later, the first fire truck arrived on the scene.
And at that point, what was the smell? What was the level of the fire? What was the atmosphere in the air?
Right. It was. It seemed like the fire was isolated on the east side of the building,
which is where the kitchen is.
Where the kitchen is,
kitchen area.
And I worked for Sun Valley Company. It's where the employees would go to clock in, and so it's opposite of the front, what you consider kind of the front of the Warm Springs Lodge on the west side, and the flames were pretty big, pretty intense, but it just seemed from my vantage point across the street there that it was limited to that section of the building.
Did that chemical smell, because it's not smell like a forest fire that we're used to.
Right.
Was that occurring at that time?
At that point I don't think I really noticed anything other than the flames. You could feel the heat, and then when the first couple of fire trucks got there and the firefighters started putting water on that part of the fire, it appeared, and in fact we were clapping, and that it appeared that it was out. At 11:40, so about 20 minutes after the fire had started, there were no visible flames, and it appeared that everything was under control. As it turns out, the firefighters they knew that wasn't the case, but
they did.
But to us across the street, we thought, that's awesome. They got it out, and there's going to be some damage to that portion of the building, but everything's going to be okay. I actually went home at that point, and got back into bed. And my son Grace called me down. And he said, "Hey, it's going again." And we went back over, and it was raging.
And how long of a time period was it till you got into bed again and then came back out to see?
That was about about 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So from nothing to then raging.
Nothing, at least from our vantage point, to raging in the roof. Then the roof was on fire, and then it was on.
And had the amount of fire trucks increased at that point?
Oh yeah. Well, even before it started raging again, there was, to my count, 8 fire trucks, and there was Ketchum Fire, Wood River Fire, Sun Valley Fire, Haley, and Bellevue, and everyone. And they had the tower ladder trucks there, and they were putting water on it from every angle. It was fascinating to watch.
Really?
And the police were there helping them replace their oxygen tanks. The firefighters would come, and they'd get a fresh tank, and they
didn't go into the building.
There were some firefighters in the building again, and I saw them coming out of the kitchen area. Obviously, I don't know what exactly was going on there on the scene, but they were all working in unison to keep this thing under control, and that was the concern of us spectating.
Right.
You've got the International Village condominiums right next door, a lot of trees along the property line. Like they needed to keep it on the Warm Springs Lodge.
Well, you said that in your video that you were concerned about the tree.
Right.
That was your first.
Exactly. On that east side of the building, there's not much room between the International Village condos and the Warm Springs Lodge, and there's just some trees there too. So that was a concern. But boy, they kept it contained to that incredibly well.
So at the second point where you came out to watch the fire,
Right.
about how many spectators were there?
I would say there was 25 people
Wow.
there. Yeah,
So everyone
people
in
started
Warm
coming
Springs.
out from Warm Springs and watching it. But when my son and I ran over there the first time, we actually commented to each other like, I can't believe there's no one here.
Right.
It was so quiet. All you could hear was the fire, and it was silent, and there was no one around to be seen.
Well, people have said to me throughout the night they kept hearing fire trucks. So I'm sure as they came through, alerted people a bit more.
Although most of them arrived, at least to my knowledge, without the sirens blaring. Some of them did, but for the most part, they were just showing up and getting to work right away.
Okay, now taking us through the evening, how long did you stay out there and watch?
I stayed out there until about 2 a.m. My son stayed up. He kept watching from our balcony, and he said at about 4 a.m. that was when he finally noticed a lack of flames, but they still kept putting water on it all the way through until the next morning,
Sure.
into the late morning the next day.
Because by the time we got there, which was about 8 a.m. to
Right.
do a little videoing and interview with you as well, it was still really smoking.
Yeah.
And the whole valley, we're south of St. Luke's,
Right.
could smell it there.
Sure.
People told me they could smell it in Bellevue.
Yep,
And
no.
it's not that forest fire smell that we're unfortunately used to.
Right.
But it has a chemical,
Sure.
terrible burn.
And this, it's still to this weekend. There's still when you're in the Warm Springs area, which I am because I live there. It's still got that smell. Then, and like you said, it's not like a campfire smell. It's there's some toxins, plastics. Who knows what.
Right. So let's switch gears a little bit now.
Okay.
As a city councilman and community leader,
Sure.
what does this mean to the community? We've of course seen a lot on social media
Right.
and comments of people.
Yeah.
And you were telling me how you're affected by it. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised as well.
Right. Yeah. No. There is a sadness. There's a sadness of losing kind of an iconic building. It was the first lodge to be reconstructed with the big logs and a beautiful building. And being here 26 years, I think we all have memories of the building, and it means a lot. And for those of us with kids, our kids,
Sure.
it was a babysitter for,
Right.
for us, for a lot of us, and just such great memories. I mean, 4 days before this fire was the annual end of the year celebration where the community comes, you know, even if you're not a skier, you come down there and have such a great time in the Warm Springs, in that Warm Springs neighborhood, in that area. And it's the local side of the mountain. There's so much that I think we all have memories, and so this sadness, even though we're so fortunate no one was hurt.
Absolutely.
It will be rebuilt, but yet we all lost a little something that night. Yeah.
Sure. Just this year with the Nationals, and I'm so happy that I on Sun Valley was able to cover the last party in front of the lodge.
Yep.
4 days ago.
Right,
It's amazing.
the company is saying that they expect to have it up and running for the next ski season. So we'll hopefully not have a gap and be able to get back to enjoying Warm Springs side of the mountain.
Well, thank you so much for sharing
You're
your
welcome.
insight.
You're welcome.
Literally with us.
Yeah,
It's very educational.
Yeah, it just talk about being in the right place at the right time to be able to see it and to have that ultra appreciation for our first responders and what they did, and you know, it's so critical that we have this combination of professional firefighters, volunteer firefighters in our community to be able to respond when something like this happens. We're very fortunate.
We are. Thank a firefighter.
Thank a firefighter, definitely.
Or a police officer. Or a first responder.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. This has been Insight Interviews with Michael David-Ketchum City Councilman. And I want to thank our sponsor, Farmers Insurance, the Christensen Agency, protecting your future one asset at a time.
Eye on Sun Valley, daily local news from beautiful Sun Valley, Idaho.